I am so annoyed right now, and while I usually don't make videos like this, I thought that it might be good to turn some of this frustration and annoyance into more of a discussion and something that might be informative if you use platforms like eBay. So, as we're getting all this great new product out there from Haya, Super 7, Monstars, all that good stuff, I'm looking at stuff that I have in my collection, Kaiju or otherwise, and I'm just asking myself, like, is the stuff that I really care about anymore? Can I get rid of it? Can I sell it? Make some room for some of the stuff I have coming, or bring in a little bit more cash while my wife is on maternity leave? So I took a lot of figures and I threw them in a box together. Some are a little bit more popular on the aftermarket right now, some not so much. And I put it up for 200 bucks. I thought 200 bucks was a good middle ground for the value of the figures that are in that box. And I put it up on eBay and I turned on offers. I almost always turn on offers because I'm very flexible in the price that I end up getting on some of these things. And I'd rather have more of a conversation with people that are interested when it's, you know, it's not the newest, hottest item, right? Like, I think that people are more agreeable if there's a little bit more wiggle room. So I put it up and I got this message this morning, asking, is the price negotiable? So obviously, yes, I have offers turned on and I've put a set limit on the lowest offer that I would possibly entertain. So clearly, yes, the price is negotiable. So I said, yeah, I have offers turned on if you'd like to propose a number. You know, usually you don't want to be the person to put out a number first. So I just said, hey, yeah, if you want to propose something, like, do it. So then they come back and they say, can I ask your lowest before sending an offer? And right away, like, I don't like this question. I think it puts sellers in an uncomfortable position for reasons that I will describe in just a moment. But it didn't really like this. And so I came back saying, hey, like, I have a limit set on the listing. So if your highest price is lower than my lowest price, you'll know right away. Like, if we're not even in the same ballpark, same area, you will know right off the bat. And then they come back saying, well, you can't tell me? Like, question mark, you can't tell me what your lowest price is? And so I wanted to walk through a little bit why this is, like, not a great conversation to have from the seller or the buyer's perspective. So obviously, like, as a seller, you know, well, let's go more broadly. So both buyer and seller have a price range, right? Like, there is an upper limit as to what the buyer is willing to pay, and there's also some lower limit. If you go below this lower limit, then there's concerns that you might be buying something counterfeit or fake or broken, right? On the seller side, there is a minimum amount that you're willing to take for the item that you're selling, but there's also probably some upper bracket, right? Like, if somebody's offering me $1,000 for a NECA figure, then I'm all of a sudden I'm concerned about whether I'm gonna get scammed by some refund scam technique or something like that, right? So there's boundaries that both the buyer and the seller have, and the idea is that you want to meet somewhere in the middle, right? Like, somewhere in between these limits to score a deal. So if you're a buyer coming in and asking me as the seller, hey, what's the lowest price that you'd be willing to take? Then, well, you're putting me in a position where either I miss out on this potential revenue that someone else might be willing to pay, or we're not even in the same ballpark and I'm just not going to make the sale either way. So as a seller, like, I don't want to answer this question. Like, what is your lowest price? Like, it doesn't benefit me to do this. It doesn't benefit me in any way to give you my lowest. It might also screw you as a buyer, though, because someone might come in and say, hey, what's your lowest offer? And I might tell you, hey, my lowest is actually here. Like, I'm selling for 200, and if my lowest, quote unquote lowest, is like, you know, 175, when I'd actually go lower than 175, then you might say, okay, yeah, I'll buy it for 175, and you could have saved this money, right? You could have saved this money by actually going through the negotiation process and going through the actual system that eBay has in place to make offers and to negotiate. So that's why you want to use eBay's platform. Like, if you come in with an offer that's like down here, and I can actually say, well, no, maybe something closer to here. And then maybe you'll come back and say, well, I don't want to go to the upper end of my budget. How about, like, somewhere right here? Right? Like, we can get there a little bit more organically. But if you're just going to come in and say, hey, what's your lowest? Then I'm going to lose this potential revenue. Or I'm going to screw you and say, actually, my floor is here, when you might be able to get the item for that much cheaper. So please don't be the person that's coming in and saying, hey, what's your lowest price, when offers are enabled on the page. Like, let's go and have this conversation and let's find out where this line lies. And it might just be that we're not going to overlap, and I think that that's totally fine. I don't want you to pay a price higher than you're comfortable with, but I also don't want to sell an item for lower than I have to. So, you know, I go back to the person, I say, look, if I give you a number, there's no way for you to know if that's my actual lowest number. I could tell you $175 when my actual lowest is $160. By turning on offers on my listing, we can start negotiating to find a price that both of us are comfortable with. Okay, so I'm really trying to be reasonable here, and I'm trying to be a little bit informative, educative, you know, saying that if you do this with other people, like, they might just lie to you. They might tell you a fake lowest number, and it could go either way, right? But you might wind up in situations where you're actually being screwed. So that's what I said. I said, if I tell you 175, my actual lowest is 160, you know, you lose out, basically. You might be able to find the item cheaper for elsewhere. And they come back and they say, I get that, but what's your actual lowest price? So that's when I hit them with the 175.